I want to thank you for checking out another podcast of We Ain't Scared Talk, where we ain't scared. My name is A1, and this week's podcast is going to be it's going to be interesting. Okay, we're going to talk about a few things within the black community that kind of, I think we still kind of struggle with. But before we get there, let me say thanks to everybody that's got their mug, the We Ain't Scared mug. I'm sitting here looking at it right now. It's so sexy, so nice. Beautiful black mug for strong black coffee. All right, so you can get on over to the link if you follow me on IG. There's a link there. It's a bit.ly link. But appreciate those. And the IG, for those who don't know, is at We Ain't Scared Talk. Again, at We Ain't Scared Talk. So also thanks to those that send text messages and emails. I do get them. And please keep them coming. And like and share, okay? If you don't subscribe to this channel yet, please subscribe. Come on. We ain't scared to subscribe. Subscribe. Do it now. All right, so let's go ahead and let's jump in. Oh, some people ask me, how much are the mugs? I usually don't post it, but they've been reduced from $7,000 all the way down to $20. Think about that. You couldn't afford it at $7,000, but everybody's got $20. Everybody. All right, so now let's see. Oh, the title. Let's go ahead and jump in. I don't want to waste any more time here. And the title of today's podcast is, Does Colorism Still Hurt the Black Community? Again, does colorism still hurt the black community? Now, obviously, I have some notes as usual. I want to go back to where or how this started, because I was working and I was talking with someone. It was a conversation that I had, and this lady, her name is Michelle Thornton Gee, Ghee, Michelle Thornton Gee, and you can go look her up on YouTube, and she has an IG page as well, but she's the head of business development for Centric and BET Her. Now, I immediately noticed her extremely fair complexion, okay, as a black woman. And then I thought about Deborah Lee, who, well, she's the former head of BET. She also has a very fair complexion. Not that I have anything against black women that have a fair complexion. I know my own mother is a lighter hue. But I often, because this is America, tie someone's, especially in the black community, their upward mobility into their complexion, because it's no secret that America is color struck, that America, especially during slavery, house niggas or field niggas, the lighter ones were in the house. Usually they were the illegitimate children of the slave master. And I'll mention that more again in a moment. But this is where I was really kind of uncomfortable, okay? The interviewer, who's a black male, was just kind of asking her, how did you get to the level of success that you are currently in as the head of biz development? Now, at first, I kind of fought the feelings, and I didn't want to acknowledge that I really felt like it had nothing to do with her experience, okay? It had nothing to do with her professional background, her education. I think it had everything to do with the fact that she was extremely light-complected. I mean, almost white, and she had these piercing light green eyes. She for all intents and purposes, she's very attractive, and I'm not suggesting that attractive women can't rise and succeed on their own merits. Sometimes there's the danger of having this open dialogue is for people that are a part of the lighter group or lighter shades. Like, well, wait a second, I worked hard to get what I got and I've earned it. And you're now saying that it was my work and my background of education is not relevant, it's not important. No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that while some of that may be true, again, this is America. You cannot discount race as playing a role or central part in it. It does. And I know we want to pretend like it doesn't, but if you walk into a room and there's a bunch of white faces and there's a light black person and a darker skinned black person, then white folks are going to gravitate towards the lighter skinned black person. That's just the way it is. I see it happen all the time where I'm at. All right, but let me get back to my notes. All right, so the question was, what did you do? What did she do to get her there? And so she was starting to talk about, I worked hard and I went to the right, I made sure that I stayed focused on business and putting myself around the right people. Okay. Now, going back to Deborah Lee, the former head of BET, she was there for 8 years. She stepped down. Okay. Again, I mentioned earlier, she's fair skinned, very light complected. And now the new guy taking over her role, her position, his name is Scott Mills. What do you think his complexion is? When I looked at him, and some of you may know the politician Cory Booker, very, very light skinned, very, very fair skinned. Now, some might say these are just wild coincidences. Okay? They're just strange anomalies. It can happen anywhere. But you're talking about BET, y'all. Black Entertainment Television, BET. And you're telling me the heads of BET look like they could be white? This is just things that I struggle with. And I know internally in the black community, the light-skinned blacks and the darker hues, there's always this infighting that's going on. And, of course, I'm not like a lighter hue. And some might say, well, you're just jealous and you just have a problem. And I really don't. But I do believe that we may potentially be allowing ourselves to be manipulated in the hierarchy of business or the business world. I'm absolutely convinced there has to be a female, a darker skinned female that has the exact same abilities as Deborah Lee, that has the exact same abilities as Michelle Thornton Gee, that has the exact same abilities, a brother, as Scott Mills. I'm convinced of that, but how come we don't see them? Okay, and I'm not saying that it ain't no conspiracy. BET is owned by Viacom. Okay, Viacom is, I believe, that the family of Sumner Redstone bought BET, and this was back when Robert Johnson had it, and he sold it for $3 billion. Now, Robert Johnson's more of my complexion, but he sold it for $3 billion, and in his divorce, him and his wife split it, so they each got $1.5 billion each. And I think this was over 25, maybe even 30 years ago. All right, so to kind of turn the page and advance the conversation or the dialogue, I want to be very transparent, and I want to be clear. I am certain that I'm wrestling with myself again about myself and colorism. And I often think about, colorism and racism and how many opportunities that I myself, may have missed out on because of this invisible factor of things. Because it has to happen. It exists. You can't go through 400 years of a practice, a inner social practice, and then all of a sudden it's not there anymore. Okay? And there are different terms for it. Some people may refer to it as the paper bag test. If you're lighter or darker than this paper bag test, I should say, if you're darker, then you couldn't go into certain places or get certain opportunities. Some people call it passe blanc. I know in the Creole world, it's referred to that, and definitely in the South. So it exists that the lighter you are, the whiter you are, and then there are real opportunities that exist with that, and that come along with that. And I'm telling you, I see it every day. There's no, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put that out there. But let me just tell you that it exists, whether you like it or not. So then I started thinking, okay, let's do a little social experiment. And I started thinking about successful entertainers and politicians that share a lighter hue, or that could pass for high yellow, as some of them call, or again, passé blanc. And then this light bulb kind of went off in my head, and images of certain historical figures, they started flooding my mind. So I really wanted to take, really I want to take you on this little journey. So just kind of go with me back in time, and then we'll go forward in time, because I really wanted to deny that this was a real possibility. But honestly, in my heart, I knew it was true, even before I finished my critical thinking about it. So let's talk about immediately Thurgood Marshall. Okay, now some of you may not have heard of him, but basically Thurgood Marshall was the first black Supreme Court judge, and the United States Supreme Court. And when you look at the photos and Google it, matter of fact, you can do that while the show's going on. But if you look at the photos of Mr. Marshall, he damn near looks like a white man. I mean, really, so light, hair straight. And I'm not saying that, if he looked like Martin Luther King with the same background, same education, that he would not have achieved the same level of success. But I can't help but wonder that during the time of the 50s and the 60s, that his extremely fair skin was a silent protective mechanism, because you didn't quite know at first. You probably had a thought of it, but you're like, well, I mean, he's articulate, he's well-spoken, he's very light, and there's no secret that a lot of lighter-skinned blacks, for their own safety, pretended to be white. Okay? And let's not deny the fact that having that ability or shield, it protected you from some of the more malicious hatred and racism that other black men and women faced. Okay? And yeah, I'm concluding that it was an asset, not a liability, since again, the house Negro was usually the same fair-skinned complexion and received better treatment and more opportunities. That's just that's a fact. Okay, now let's turn the page and let's take a step forward and let's start thinking about black politicians. And of course, just a knee-jerk reaction is what I wanted to do with myself for some high-profile names. Barack Obama obviously hit the top of the list. Okay, white mama, black daddy, fair skin, all day, every day. Kamala Harris, okay, fair skin, all day, every day. Cory Booker, fair skin, probably lighter than the rest of them, all day, every day. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this. Auntie Maxine Waters, as some of us call her. John Lewis. But I even think that John Lewis obtained his position based on the timing of the climate of the United States. He was lockstep with Martin Luther King Jr., and Jesse Jackson, and he really did a very masterful job of being seen, but not being seen, but being persistent without being annoying or perceived as aggressive. And he stayed the course. So to me, I think if you don't fall into this particular category, you better damn well not be too vocal. Really, I think if you are going to ascend and you don't have light skin and you are ascending in an area of white folks, you better be quiet, persistent, agreeable, non-threatening, and have the ability to make white friends without the overtness as time goes on about it's my people, my people. And I think John Lewis kind of, he fell into we got to be here, we got to get along, we got to get to know, not realizing that white folks ain't trying to get along with you. White men in particular are not trying to get along with black men, because somebody's going to have to acquiesce. Somebody's going to have to say, you drive, I'll ride, or vice versa. And white men in America, especially in politics, they ain't voluntarily giving up that lane. Okay, but if they feel like you are amenable, that you are moldable, or let's just try to reason with them this way, then there's some black people that they go with it. There's not enough, in my opinion, in 2019 of black politicians that are literally fighting and saying, look, Black Lives Matter. That's it. Black Lives Matter. I don't care about none of this other BS. So you can go and do what you want, but as far as I'm concerned, if we're not talking about some way to help black people, then I don't want to talk about it. They'll talk about abortions all day long and how it's wrong. I mean, every argument that they're using to legitimize abortion rights or actually outlawing or banning abortions, there's a heartbeat. Well, black men that were killed by police have a heartbeat too. But let me not get off on that. So, lighter skin tones, I think Barack, again, he benefited from it. Now, I jokingly have always said, if Barack Obama had the same complexion as Wesley Snipes, would he have been elected POTUS? And honestly, I say no. I think white folks, because you got to have the majority of white folks in America voting in large numbers for the president of the United States of America. Just because if every black person is voting, they're not going to put him there. White folks got to like him. And I think they'd just be too scared. I really do. And it's all because of this bullshit skin tone thing. All right, so let's keep it going here. Now let's move down the list and let's talk about actors and entertainers and musicians. Okay, again, this was just a knee-jerk list. Okay, Drake. Oh, okay. Matter of fact, he ain't even from America. He's Canadian. But anyway, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj. And there's some rumors there that Nicki she engaged in some skin lightening. And now we're going to go even further back in time. Josephine Baker. Okay, Dorothy Dandridge. And then we come up currently, okay, on the females, Beyonce versus Kelly Rowland. Okay, this is a very interesting comparison. Now, Kelly can sing. Kelly Rowland, at least to me, she can sing. Now, she may not have some of the vocal chops as Beyonce, but I often wonder, how come she's not getting the same shine? And this is not taking anything away from Beyonce's talent, but Beyonce's very light. And now let's go to the actresses. Oh, let me throw out Rihanna, and put her right next to Beyonce. I know the whole rivalry thing, but okay, moving forward. Halle Berry versus Angela Bassett. This is a really good one. This is a really, 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 really good one. I kind of want to just stay here for just a moment. Halle Berry's very good actress. Light skin, very light skin. Not very light, but she is. Angela Bassett, a little bit more on the mocha side. But I didn't realize Angela Bassett has played, I want to say, damn near every top black female role there is to play. Malcolm X's wife, Tina Turner. She was in most every black movie in the 90s in particular, and early 2000s. She has played damn near everybody. And not even one Oscar contention. I have my suspicions as to why. Halle Berry had sex on screen with Billy Bob Thornton. Can you make me feel good? Can you make me feel good? And which Monsters Ball is the name of that movie. It's like, oh my God. And then she got that Oscar. But Angela is not willing to subject herself to that. She's not going to be a hoe in order to get that gold. You gotta get that gold if you want that girl. All right, so anyway. All right, so let's keep it moving. It's no secret that during slavery, the light-skinned blacks were the house Negroes. And they were usually, again, the illegitimate kids of the slave master. A lot of people think, I don't even know where people think light-skinned blacks came from. They don't realize that it was the slave master basically fucking the slave females, and then you have these kids. Okay, and it happened. So colorism seems to still be what I'm calling a get-out-of-jail-free card for some black people. I think that even black people, using BET as an example, we participate in this. So you got white people that are saying, if you're not lighter, it's not the right shade. And then you got black people that operate in the same fashion. So it's a double-edged sword. Now, I'm not blaming black folks for this problem because nobody can control how or who we're born as. So when I say not blame, I mean we can't control the shade of our skin, okay? But I am concerned that there is a subconscious bias or preference that we have when it comes to the shade of black people or a black person that we want to hire or promote or validate. And I'm going to say that this is the ugly, ugly truth. Okay. And you know, I don't run from this. Okay. I don't run from that secret dark feeling that we have. We think the lighter they are, that intelligence is higher. And the darker they are, that the intelligence is somehow not there in the same way. And it is the biggest form of self-hatred that we do. Intelligence has nothing to do with skin tone. It is nothing, it's not linked in any way, shape, or form. It is that person's ability to educate themselves and to ascend and to adapt to whatever environment that they are in. But I still believe that black people have been sold a lie, and we believe it, and it is wrong. Let me stress to you, it is wrong. All right, so now I also know that black folks are, again, I said it earlier, they're color struck too. And I'm not sure, because a lot of this, when I speak, I'm like, okay, great, Mark, I want you've identified all this stuff, all right? And what is it that can be done to prevent it? What can we do? And you know what the sad truth is? It's hard to really come up with an answer, because it's a self or it's an individual decision. You have to have an extra heightened sense of awareness as you're interacting with people. Okay, you do. And here's a funny story, okay? I was at the pool, this was a few weeks ago, and a very light-complected black man sat next to me in one of the chairs. And very honestly, he was open. He said, I gotta get in this sun, man. I'm trying to get as much sun as possible. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then I didn't pull this out of him. He said, yeah, man, I just don't feel like I'm black enough. Now, I know Aisha Curry said the same thing a few weeks ago. But when he said this, he didn't feel black enough and he needed skin. I thought to myself, wow, he doesn't feel black enough. And really, he doesn't look black enough, and it was really what he was saying. But we come in all shades. And he, didn't feel like his tone was acceptable. It's like no matter what side of the scale you sit on, you're discriminated against, or you discriminate against yourself. He was basically discriminated against himself because he didn't have more melanin. Okay, so it's like black people, we're not sure where to rest when it comes down to acceptance and validation, because that's really all it is. I don't care what ethnic background you're from, your socioeconomic status. Every human being has a deep need for acceptance and validation, period. You can put all other kind of monikers on it that you want to, but the fact is we all want to be accepted for who we are, and we want to be validated as such. And to kind of wrap, some of this even more, darker skinned folks want acceptance by the lighter skinned folks. Lighter skinned hues want acceptance by the darker skin, and they both, again, want validation so they both can experience upward mobility in the workforce. And black folks are the only race on the planet Earth that have to deal with this sort of wrangling with ourselves. There's an outward perception that we have to contend with. There's an inward perception, intercultural. It's really just kind of a twisted pretzel. But let me just finish up the story about the guy by the pool. Okay, so on a hunch, I asked him what his position was, what he did for a living, and he said he was a foreman on a construction site. Now, mind you, he had two darker skinned brothers that were there with him. When I say darker, it was like a deep mocha. And he told me, very plainly, they worked underneath him. He was their boss. So I said, okay, well, this is a good opportunity for me. And again, it's unscientific, but my conclusion after having that encounter, I made some general observations, and that it was hard to deny the colorism. He was so light. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for his beard, okay, I may not have immediately caught on. But you cannot deny that colorism inside and outside the black community is alive and well. And honestly, my parting words with this brother is I told him, I said, bro, you are fine just the way you are. You're good just the way you are. Don't feel insecure about how you are made. And then I also told him, look, help these young brothers that are with you, help them ascend and get to where you are. And that way we can hopefully start to level some of this imbalance. Okay. All right. And look, I know these conversations aren't easy. I'm certain there's people out there listening to this. They're looking in the mirror possibly or thinking to themselves, yeah, you know what? Maybe I do that. Maybe I do. My light skin does help me with this. And maybe my darker skin prevents me from, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. But I am one for, we got to talk. Okay. We have to. And it's sad. Okay. But in America, let's keep it real. America with 3 Ks, this is where it started. Okay, everything is based on skin tone, and I wish it wasn't, but it is. So my hope is that everybody has a family that no matter what the skin tone is, you're supported, you're encouraged to have confidence and to grow as high as you can and enjoy that skin. It is yours. It's beautiful. All right, well, and I'm certain you have your own thoughts as usual. Okay, you could probably interject your own stories. But yeah, let's keep this conversation going. It's important that we keep talking about it because in order, what do I say? You got to face it to erase it. It's the only way. You got to face it to erase it. And let's not let it separate us, black people. Solidarity. Solidarity. Okay? All right. So I want to thank you for checking out another podcast of We Ain't Scared Talk. You got some good food for thought. Listen again. Tell a friend. We ain't scared.